Hello, and welcome to a special edition of the Luckbox CSGO podcast with me, Tim Masters, your regular Luckbox CSGO expert on Talking Head, I guess. Expert might be generous. Today we're going to talk about DreamHack Dallas, an event that is underway as we speak, that has generated a lot of headlines, not least because Astralis missing the tournament. Everyone and the dog has an opinion on why Astralis has missed the tournament, of course, and a lot of people have an opinion as to how valid the reasons Astralis have given is. So let's have a little look on the bright side, because at Luckbox here we like to focus on positive things, of why it is that Astralis decided to make that decision. Now, the first thing, something we said before in these podcasts, but it is something I want to reiterate, is all very well and good to talk about the impact of Device's stomach condition on Astralis' ability to compete. But if you haven't experienced living with a condition, you aren't truly qualified to talk about the impact that it might have on your performance. People who have a similar condition to Device, and I count myself unfortunately as one of those people, will know that the debilitating effects of digestion problems can be extremely impactful, and comparing playing in a week-long tournament with all the stress, pressure, potential other issues that may lead to his holiday in Dubai simply shows that the people talking about the issue don't fully understand the issue. Stomach conditions and digestive issues generally are hugely affected by stress, and the same trip in terms of logistics, time spent, even flight time can have a massively different impact depending on what it is that you do when you're away and how you prepare. Otherwise, I guess all work trips would be considered holidays, because I'm going there for work, I would go there for a holiday, so it's the same thing, right? No, wrong. So with this in mind, let's go on to the wider issue of why Astralis might choose to miss events. We don't want to bag on DreamHack here. They're one of the older tournament organisations in the scene, and just because they aren't maybe as prestigious as they used to be, that's hard to really pinpoint as the reason that Astralis might have missed it, especially when they're happy, refreshingly happy, you might say, to go to other smaller events around the world. And the other housing, just so it's not picking on anyone in particular. But burnout's the thing, and in Counter-Strike, it maybe we're a little bit behind the curve in this. There's a conversation that's happened recently in Dota with Team Secret, who aren't as much of a factor in CSGO as they are in Dota, of course. But their Dota manager, known in the scene as Cyborg Matt Bailey, I believe, has recently commented on the difficulty of going from the major in Paris, which Team Secret won, and therefore, of course, played the last day of, straight into qualifiers for the Epicenter major, which will take place in Moscow. This is partly a unique problem to Dota, because even the champions don't qualify for the next event, and therefore, if you get to the last day of one major, that's going to mean you're spending the maximum amount of time in that event, and then you're going to go back to day one, just like everyone else, which some would say is unintuitive, and I'm not going to argue. In isolation, that isn't particularly clever from Valve, but what you have to realise, if you look across all major sports, if you look across most forms of competition, there is often a break period and an intensive play period. If you look at the Premier League, world's most successful club competition, there is the famous Christmas period, which even today is sort of protected in a period where players are playing many, many games, but of course those players also have a long summer break where they can, in theory, rest and recuperate. Dota is in a weird place, of course, because it does have this DPC system where Valve, like the FIFA of esports, if you will, kind of lay out the events that you have to go to if you want to make it to TI. But even then, it's very hard for me to say that Team Secret are the victims, because if you look, since 2018, I think it's October 2018, they've been to 5 non-DPC events, all of which had decent prize money, most of which they did quite well at. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't go to events, but it's a little bit hard to blame Valve for the intensity of the schedule when you're going to A, events that don't count towards DPC points and therefore aren't in theory that important, and B, the Epicenter Major, when this is a team that already has secured their spot at TI and has no need to play in that other again than prize money. So with that in mind, how can we apply it to Counter-Strike? Now, it's hard to say whether the Counter-Strike calendar is overly full in 2019 or not, really. There was definitely a period of saturation, oversaturation, you might say, but now we have a lot of events, but very few that really seem to qualify as Tier 1. Mainly because most of the Tier 1 teams seem to pick and choose quite a lot these days as to what they go to. You know, we aren't going to see, it looks like Team Liquid in Cologne, although it's still not 100% on that. We aren't going to see Astralis in Dallas. So if you want to see the two best teams in the world play off, you've got to wait for Berlin like the rest of us in the major. And from Astralis' point of view, given that, you know, for all the sniping, their legacy will live and die on their major record, there is no real reason for them to care what X or Y pundit thinks about Dallas. In fact, while traditional wisdom in CSGO has said you get 6 months to make a roster work, you play as much as you can in that period, and then you see where you are, it may be that Astralis have in fact not just proved that wrong, but completely shifted the paradigm. This is a team that has been together for years now. This is a core, if you don't include Magisk, that has been together for years. They played under several different organisations as this core. They developed a reputation for choking as this core, and then dropped that reputation for choking by winning a ton of events with this core. They didn't do it by intensively grinding out lands and flying to everything they could. They didn't do it by just throwing themselves into the fire and seeing how they came out. They basically did it by working hard on the fundamentals of the game and realizing that preparation and being prepared as much as preparation itself is vital. Now, when I say being prepared, I don't mean having a game plan. I don't mean having practiced all your strategies. I don't mean even saving strategies, which I'm pretty sure Astralis may be doing for the major. I mean coming into it in the best state of mind that you can come into it, coming into the best physical shape you can come into it, preparing to play at your peak level at the proper time. Dallas is going to be a great event, and I don't doubt there are going to be some wonderful storylines that come out of it. But that would have been true with Astralis there, and that will be true without Astralis there. The reality is that Astralis' main focus has to be their legacy, their ability to maintain that place as the greatest team that Counter-Strike's ever seen. And ESL 1 Cologne and the major are going to be where that happens, if it happens. And the best chance they have of going into those as favourites, as going into those with a really good chance of not just winning, but going back to back to back playoffs without dropping a map, is in their own hands. You know, they aren't going to improve their chances at the major by going to Dallas. They know they can beat every single team in the world. They aren't going to learn anything from Dallas. They may empower Liquid by losing a match to them there, but this is not a team that needs LAN practice anymore. This is a team that may well be pushing the envelope in terms of professionalism, in terms of preparation, and may, for the first few months of this year, have decided that the most important and best thing they can do for their chances of winning the major is to take some time off, refresh, regroup, rather than burning themselves out by flying to Dallas, Sydney, wherever it may be, for a few $1,000s in a tournament that ultimately no one will remember. So when you're watching Dallas, it's going to be great. I guarantee that. CSGO, it's always great. But remember, Astralis, their main motivation, the most important thing to them is the majors. And this proactive management of their own calendar puts them not just ahead of the field in Counter-Strike, but as Team Secret have shown, possibly in all of esports. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch up with you soon on another special episode of the Luck Box.